I stayed on the bed, trying to steady my breathing. The darkness outside the window seemed to pulse, almost alive. My mind screamed for logic, for reason, branches, wind, hallucination, but the feeling of being observed refused to fade. Every shadow in the room seemed heavier, denser, like they had weight and intention. I reached for my phone, hoping for distraction, light, some tether to reality. No signal. Black screen. Dead. I whispered to myself that it was just bad luck, nothing more. But my instincts knew better. I scanned the room. Everything seemed normal, yet not. The air was thicker near the window, like something pressed against the glass from outside, waiting. I forced myself to move, step by step toward the door. I needed light. I needed to escape. My legs felt weak, like walking through water. I reached the door. It creaked as I pushed it. Not loud enough to alarm anyone, but the sound echoed unnaturally. Hallway empty. I exhaled a shaky breath. Safe? Maybe. I moved cautiously toward the living room, seeking a window, another exit. Shadows along the walls flickered, not following the natural path of light. They shifted, stretched, curling subtly. My stomach turned. This wasn't imagination. I could feel presence, almost breathing on my neck. I spun, expecting someone, or something, to appear. Nothing. Only darkness, silent, patient. I tried calling for help. My voice cracked in the silence, barely a whisper. The phone remained useless. I realized that whatever was outside the window wasn't bound by the rules of the natural world. The footprints, the tapping, the absence of reflection, all pointed to something beyond normal comprehension. I backed up, unsure what to do next. Fear paralyzed me. I told myself to ignore it, that if I stayed calm, it would leave. But something in me knew that night was only beginning. Something had chosen me, and it wasn't going anywhere. I returned to the bedroom, telling myself I needed to breathe. Calm down. Think logically. Old buildings make noises. Shadows play tricks. That happens. But the feeling remained, heavy, suffocating, like eyes watching from somewhere I couldn't see. I avoided the window. I refused to look at it. If I ignored it, it couldn't scare me. That is what people say about fear. Attention gives it power. So I focused on anything else, the bed, the walls, the faint hum of the building. Normal sounds. I convinced myself I would sleep. Morning would fix everything. Sunlight makes things ordinary. It always does. I lay down, staring at the ceiling. My heart still raced. I told myself to relax. In. Out. In. Out. Eventually exhaustion would win. But then I heard it again. Not tapping. Not footsteps. A soft sound. Like breathing. Right near the window. My blood turned cold. I froze, listening. It came again, slow, deliberate. Not human. I told myself it was imagination. Night tricks. Sleep deprivation. That happens. The brain invents sounds. But this felt real. Too real. I sat up slowly, eyes scanning the darkness. The window remained black. No reflection. No movement. Yet the breathing continued. Close. Like something standing just outside the glass. I wanted to scream. I couldn't. My throat tightened. I reached for the lamp again, desperate for light. Nothing. Still dead. I cursed under my breath. This was ridiculous. A power outage. Old wiring. Simple explanation. I repeated it. But I didn't believe it. The air felt different, colder, thicker. I shivered. My breath fogged slightly in the dim room. Impossible. It wasn't that cold. I backed away from the window, sitting against the wall. I needed distance. Safety. The darkness watched me. I felt it. Not a sight, an awareness. Something knowing I was afraid. Something enjoying it. I shook my head. No. That couldn't be true. Buildings don't think. Rooms don't observe. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling of presence. I waited, hoping morning would come quickly. Time felt strange, stretched. Minutes dragged like hours. The darkness outside the window remained unchanged, black, endless, watching. I told myself it was nothing. Just night. Just imagination. But deep down I knew I was lying. Something had been there. The tapping, the missing reflection, the breathing. None of it fit normal explanations. I tried to sleep. I closed my eyes, breathing slowly. In. Out. In. Out. But every sound made me flinch, the creak of the building, the faint hum of pipes, the rustle of something I couldn't identify. I opened my eyes again. The room was still dark. The window remained a void. No reflection. No movement. Yet the feeling of being watched persisted. I sat up, rubbing my face. Maybe I was going crazy. Stress. Lack of sleep. That happens. The human mind creates threats when it is tired. I repeated it like a mantra. But it didn't help. I stood slowly, forcing myself to move. I needed water. Something normal. Something real. I stepped toward the kitchen. The hallway seemed longer than before. Impossible. Spaces don't change. But it felt farther, like the apartment stretched. I swallowed hard. No. This was paranoia. I reached the kitchen, turning on the faucet. Water flowed. Real. Cold. I drank, trying to steady myself. It helped slightly. I told myself I would survive the night. Morning would come. Everything would return to normal. But as I turned back toward the bedroom, I stopped. A faint mark on the floor. A footprint. Damp. Small. Not mine. I froze. My breath caught. It was fresh. I hadn't noticed it before. Someone, or something, had been here. I backed away slowly, heart racing. This wasn't imagination. It never was. Something had followed me into the apartment. And it was still here. Watching. Waiting. For those watching on YouTube or Facebook from a computer, PC, or television, please subscribe or follow the channel or page.